Have you ever wondered why some people seem to succeed in everything they do while others struggle despite all their efforts? The answer lies in the power of thought, an endless source of energy hidden deep within your own mind. In today's audio video, we take you on a journey through the book The Power of Thinking by Martin Manser, a practical guide that helps you understand how your brain works, train your memory, develop strategic thinking, and unlock your full intellectual potential. Each chapter is a key that opens the door to confidence, creativity, and lasting success. Listen closely, feel deeply, and awaken the hidden power within you. Because when you master your thinking, you master your life. Here is the introduction. Please listen. Awakening the hidden power of the mind. Our minds possess an astonishing capacity for thinking, understanding, and making decisions. This book will help you discover methods to unlock the hidden intellectual potential within yourself. In my career, I have often had to make strategic decisions about the direction of my professional path. Some decisions were not particularly difficult, but others required a great deal of mental effort to resolve conflicts and find solutions. Some of my most effective ways of handling work emerged from seemingly coincidental discoveries, being in the right place at the right time and having the right experience. In addition, during my presentations, I often have to stretch my mind to remember not only the main points and key details, but also people's names. I wish I had read this book years ago. It would have helped me enormously. I wish all readers of this book the very best. As you are about to embark on one of the most fascinating adventures, discovering and utilizing the abundant resources of your own mind. This book contains 50 tips divided into 7 chapters. Understanding how the brain works. Knowing yourself is the first important step that helps you challenge yourself and develop your mind comprehensively. Reading and listening more effectively. Improving your skills in key areas of cognition, such as reading and listening, will help you stay ahead. Strategic thinking. Circular and aimless thinking is easy to fall into. This section will reveal some tips to help you activate your thought processes. Effective problem solving. In this section, you will explore techniques that help you use your mind to develop methods for dealing with difficulties and making sound decisions. Enhancing memory. This section provides useful guidance to help you cope with challenges in remembering information, names, and numbers. Focusing the mind. To work effectively in today's business environment, you need to stay focused on your tasks and maintain a positive attitude toward the issues you face. Inspiring the mind. Stimulate and nurture your mind while reducing, as much as possible, the level of stress, successfully collaborating with colleagues, and managing your time efficiently. By applying these 7 principles, you will find yourself tapping into the vast reservoir of potential hidden within your mind. This book will help you open the door to that immense inner resource. Understanding how the brain works. First of all, learning how the brain functions most effectively is of vital importance, as it helps you determine the learning method that best suits you. We will explore this in depth in this chapter before discovering how to develop creative ways of using the brain for common tasks, such as note-taking or information searching. It is all too easy to follow established patterns of thinking. Therefore, you must make a conscious effort to change and develop in a well-rounded way. 1.1. Understanding the functions of the brain. You know that the 2 hemispheres of the human brain operate in relatively opposite ways. The right hemisphere being associated with synthesis and creativity, while the left hemisphere is linked to logical thinking. You will be able to work more efficiently. Moreover, if you work in a team, make sure that the skills of the members complement one another. The brain's activities are generally controlled by either the left or the right hemisphere, depending on whether the activity is more creative or logical in nature. In some individuals, one hemisphere tends to dominate over the other. People with a dominant left brain tend to, as typed, analyze information in a linear sequence, breaking it into different components and arranging them logically. Work relatively quickly with numbers and letters. Prefer detailed analysis and making lists. People with a dominant right brain tend to process information holistically. They first look at the overall picture before focusing on details, receive and handle information creatively and intuitively, using imagination with ease, have a strong spatial awareness, enjoy learning activities that involve hands-on experience, physical interaction, and colorful illustrations or drawings. Human beings generally have one hemisphere that is more dominant. However, great scientists tend to have a balance between both sides of the brain. A typical example is Einstein, who was fond of activities such as rowing, art, and playing the violin. The implications of this are: 6. If one side of your brain is less developed, focus on strengthening and nurturing the latent potential of that weaker side so that it can function more effectively. By doing this, you will find that you do not become less capable in the areas where you are already strong. In fact, you will improve and perform better in both areas. As a result, your overall mental performance will increase. Ensure a balance within a team between members who possess logical and analytical talents and those who have creative and intuitive abilities. A moment for reflection. Think about yourself and determine which type of brain dominance you have. Once you know this, you will be able to identify which abilities you need to further develop in the other hemisphere of your brain. See the next 2 tips for more insight into this topic. Try to develop your brain's potential. 1.2. Strengthening the power of the right brain. If your left brain is dominant, you need to strengthen your right brain to create a better balance in your overall brain function. There are many ways to enhance the effectiveness of the right brain, including e.t. through dreams. Don't worry about rigid interpretations. Let your imagination soar freely. You can even write down the things you dream about. Through the big picture. Don't get lost in trivial details. Observe everything from the widest possible perspective. Taking risks. Don't be overly cautious, but don't be reckless either. Introduce changes into your usual routine. Find a new route to work. Try new dishes, or cook a meal in a completely different way. Changing personal perspective. Always maintain a positive attitude toward new opportunities and don't see them as threats. Being creative. Think of new and unusual ways to describe the problems you encounter. Draw them on paper or create something visual to represent them. What color would it be? What shape and size? Relaxing. Get some physical activity such as going to the gym or dancing. A healthy body nurtures a healthy mind. Developing intuition. Don't ignore sudden thoughts that pop into your head while doing unrelated tasks such as showering or driving to work. Pay attention to them. These ideas may come from your subconscious. Try doing something you usually do in a completely different way. Example. By nature, my left brain is more dominant than my right. After conducting several workshops on writing clear English, I realized I needed to develop new directions because the market had become saturated. I struggled with this problem for quite some time, trying to reason my way through it logically. One day, when I wasn't even thinking about it, a sudden idea struck me. I should target professionals whose jobs were not closely related to writing. More specifically, I focused on accountants and engineers. The key to success was that I learned to think creatively and take initiative in solving problems, developing my own strategy to tap into a new market. 1.3. Strengthening the left brain. If the left brain is dominant, spend time strengthening it to achieve balance. Although difficult, it is worthwhile. There are many ways to strengthen the left brain. Below, I list some. Delve into detail. Don't view things holistically. Go into the particulars. If you are not sure which details to focus on, answer questions that begin with who, where, when, what, how, and why. Be more organized. Make lists of the tasks you need to do. Write short notes. Plan. Think about a task you need to do soon. Outline the steps to achieve the goal. Then arrange the steps in logical order so you can carry them out most effectively. Think long-term. Set long-term goals, then analyze those goals and map out realistic, feasible intermediate steps. It is important to write them down. Doing so will help you keep them in view and stay focused on them. Make firm decisions. Turn off the TV earlier than usual so you can get more hours of sleep. Be resolute in establishing beneficial new habits such as walking more, going to the gym, or playing chess. If necessary, ask friends for help or join a local club. Train to become more logical. Solve puzzles such as Sudoku or play crossword puzzles, whether they are easy or hard. Practice memory. Gradually practice remembering phone numbers or words whose spelling you find difficult to recall. A person who lacks the ability to reason is a fool. A person who never reasons is obstinate. A person who does not dare to reason is a slave. Andrew Carnegie, the Scottish-American capitalist and philanthropist, A Moment for Reflection, set a deadline for achieving your goals. Break goals down into manageable tasks with deadlines so that clearly defined objectives can be planned in detail. Commit to yourself that you will carry them out. Ask a friend or colleague to contact you one day after the set deadline to check whether you have completed the task. Ignore the whole. Focus on the details. For identifying learning styles, people learn in different ways. If you want to use your brain effectively, you need to understand which learning method works best for you. There are 3 main learning styles, each corresponding to our senses. Visual learning. Visual learners prefer to absorb information through images, graphs, charts, and tables. Auditory learning. These learners prefer to receive information through hearing and then discuss what they have learned. Listening to what others say helps them learn effectively. Kinesthetic learning. These learners prefer physical activity and learn best through doing. They are suited to learning experiences that involve touch and movement. Self-learning. First, identify what subjects or areas truly interest you. From there, you can use your knowledge in those areas to challenge yourself to expand your learning methods. The goal is to balance and adjust yourself so that you can learn using unfamiliar methods, those that are not your natural preference. Seek out opportunities to practice these alternative learning styles. Team development. If you work in a group, make sure that other members possess different learning styles so that you can complement each other. Presentations. If you need to present information to an audience, keep in mind that people absorb information in different ways. A good speaker uses a multi-sensory approach, combining various methods to ensure that everyone receives the message effectively. This means incorporating visual aids to illustrate your points, using headings and key points to structure your content, and creating opportunities for discussion and deeper exploration through stories and role-playing activities. When working in a group, ensure that members have different learning styles so that their strengths can complement one another. Example: the marketing strategy development team originally consisted of 3 graduate members, Stephen, Andrew, and Greta, who leaned toward academic thinking. They were all highly logical and linguistically skilled. They enjoyed discussing the precise wording of strategic plans in great detail, but in practice, they achieved very little. The situation changed completely when Roz joined the team. Her skills were rooted in creativity and visual thinking. She quickly helped the group make real progress. She drew diagrams illustrating different parts of the campaign and the tasks to be completed. This new approach inspired fresh ideas within the team and motivated everyone to actively move forward with the advertising campaign. Unleash your creativity, Thomas Edison, the American inventor, once said, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." Your creativity improves through hard work, persistence, and by allowing yourself to embrace and make use of inspiration whenever it arises. Here are 5 steps to help you develop creative thinking. Change your working methods. Read books on different subjects. Pick up a magazine in a field you usually ignore, or read a novel by an author you've never heard of. Try out a new hobby. You don't need to be the best in the world. Simply enjoy it. This helps you grow as a person. Stay open to new ideas. Sometimes a fresh thought or solution to a problem may suddenly appear in your mind, especially when you're not even thinking about it. Evaluate this spark of insight and see if it's useful or worth pursuing. Learn more about creative thinking in section 3.4. Prepare well. If you're giving a presentation, there's no substitute for thorough preparation. Make sure you have all the necessary information. Don't know where to start? A mind map might help. See section 1.6. Analyze facts. Spend time thinking about them from multiple perspectives. Challenge assumptions and distinguish facts from opinions. Identify weaknesses and gaps in arguments. Consider the underlying causes and motivations behind events. Analyze all data logically. Synthesize information. Evaluate different options and look for innovative combinations. For instance, when improving a system at work, blending logical thinking with creative thinking can lead to powerful results. Let yourself dream freely and generate fresh, exciting ideas. Example: the music market before, during, and after 2001 was chaotic. CDs were expensive and hard to transport. MP3 players had poor quality and small storage, and obtaining MP3 files legally was complicated. The creative combination of Apple's iPod and iTunes software solved these problems, allowing the company to dominate 75% of the digital music market in both hardware and software. 6. Drawing a mind map. A mind map is a creative diagram used to record what you consider important about a particular issue or problem you need to think through. Many people find that drawing a mind map, also known as a thought map, note model, or spider diagram, is a useful way to gain an overview of all parts of a topic and how they fit together. Making notes in this form is also helpful when you need to think deeply about a subject or conduct research on an issue. Below are 7 steps to prepare for drawing a mind map. Take an A4 sheet of paper and place it horizontally on your desk. Using a pencil, write one or a few words about the central topic in the middle of the page. Around the central word or phrase, write related keywords. At this stage, let your imagination run freely. Think of smaller ideas or events connected to the main topic. Draw branches for all other aspects that come to mind about the topic. These may include related facts, your feelings about the topic, and the advantages or disadvantages of different possible courses of action. If you get stuck, stimulate your mind by asking questions such as who, where, when, what, how, each and why. At this stage, don't reject any ideas. Use an eraser as little as possible, only if you need to remove something you've written. You can write different keywords in different colors to indicate their relationships. You may also use symbols, pictures, or drawings if they help. You may also number the keywords to show their order of importance. Let your imagination inspire you, and you can create mind maps to explore different aspects of any topic. Example: when planning a course on report writing, I used a mind map to note everything I knew about the students, their needs, what they already knew, and the level of proficiency I wanted them to achieve by the end of the course. I broke down the main goals I wanted them to learn into manageable parts. Throughout the workshop, the diagram served as a clear one-page summary that guided my teaching. In changing your thinking in the same old way can easily trap our thoughts, emotions and habits in a rut. While change is not always necessary, you can learn to think differently. Here are some ways to change your thinking. Try a new approach. Avoid the mindset of "we've always done it this way" and rethink everything both logically and creatively. Think positively. Stop criticizing and judging. Look at situations constructively instead. If you can combine your natural caution with a new sense of optimism, you can greatly improve your planning. Reconsider yourself and your career. Look at your work situation from a completely new perspective. Do you have opportunities to make it better? Think creatively. Develop your own unique way of thinking. If you find it difficult to come up with new and creative ideas, try using a tool like a mind map, see section 1.6, to stimulate your imagination. Change your habits. Doing so can help you learn new skills in how you work and solve problems. All these methods involve taking risks. If you are naturally cautious, you might be reluctant to do so. Think about why that is. Here are some common reasons. I don't want to make a fool of myself. The answer to that is simple. Does it really matter? It might not work. To counter that thought, say, a person who never makes mistakes never achieves anything. It takes too much time. That might be true, but think about learning to drive or mastering a new language. Don't those skills also take time to learn? Just because you have always done things a certain way doesn't mean you must always continue to do so. You can change the way you think. Example, James Dyson is a British designer and engineer. In the 1980s, vacuum cleaners often lost suction power when their dust bags became full. While adding more power could have been one partial solution, Dyson started from the assumption that a vacuum cleaner didn't necessarily need a dust bag at all. This line of thinking led him to a completely different approach, the cyclone vacuum system. The result proved to be a major success. Developing yourself as a whole. Person, besides the ability to think, we also have the capacities to perceive, to feel, and to express ourselves physically. To strengthen the power of your mind, you need to develop yourself in a well-rounded and holistic way. Below are some suggestions to help you do so. Break your daily routine. Start by watching a TV program that you normally ignore. Read about current events. Get information from your favorite websites, a reputable newspaper, or a regularly published magazine. Don't just read, think. Spend time reflecting on the deeper issues behind the events, stories, or reports you encounter. Share your latest ideas and insights with others to receive feedback and evaluate different perspectives. Pay attention to your senses. Look up at the sky. Pause for a moment and listen to the sounds around you. Think about them. They are part of who you are. Absorb culture. Visit an art exhibition or a museum. If art and paintings are not your thing, attend a trade fair instead. Care about people. Don't be indifferent to those around you, whether in your local community or the wider world. Taking part in social activities can be beneficial to you as well. Play sports. Choose a sport you enjoy. It not only benefits your physical health, but also strengthens your mind and spirit. Express your artistic side. If you have a creative or artistic inclination, include some artistic activities in your daily schedule. Challenge yourself. Put yourself in an unfamiliar or uncomfortable environment to stretch your limits. Take time to reflect. Choose a form of reflection, perhaps through prayer or meditation, to help you connect more deeply with the spiritual world. Take notes and sketch. Always make a habit of writing down or sketching new ideas that come to your mind. Learn to listen and truly listen. Compare what you hear with what you already know. Talk with friends and colleagues. Discuss ideas, pray, or meditate to stay connected with the unseen world. We are whole human beings, and therefore we need to grow in all aspects of our lives. Reading and listening more effectively, the ability to understand why you read and to read quickly are both essential skills. Equally important is the ability to absorb, think about, and understand what you read, skills that are vital to your success in life. We don't just read words, we also interpret numbers, charts, graphs, and diagrams. There are many ways to improve your comprehension of these types of materials. Listening carefully, evaluating information, and asking the right questions are also key skills that you should develop and nurture. Understanding the purpose of reading. When reading any material, it is important to know why you are reading it. Are you reading to gain knowledge, to find detailed information about a specific issue, or to get a general overview of the topic? Knowing your purpose before you start will help you decide how to read the material. Common reasons for reading include to understand the general idea of the material. This method is called skimming, reading to grasp the main points. To gather detailed information from the text, this method is known as deep reading or intensive reading. To find a specific piece of information, this is called scanning, reading quickly to locate particular facts. To understand the author's purpose. Since the writer's intent may not always be stated directly, this is referred to as reading for inference. We often use different reading techniques at different times. For example, when reading a job advertisement to decide whether to apply, we usually skim to understand the general requirements and determine our eligibility. When searching for a company's phone number on a website, we scan the home page to find the contact section and retrieve the information we need. If we are researching to write an introduction for a new product, we must read deeply to collect detailed facts and insights. The ability and desire to read are the keys to the gates of all that mankind has discovered. Abraham Lincoln. President of the United States, 1861-1865. Knowing your purpose before reading helps you choose the most effective reading method. Example: Deepak was assigned to research the background of the mobile phone business in a new market. He quickly identified the most useful websites and navigated to the relevant pages. There, he found summary articles about the new market, took notes, and used the information to deliver his presentation in the meeting. 2.2. Reading. Faster, follow the steps mentioned in the previous section and add one more crucial factor: speed. Prepare before reading by clearly identifying your purpose, and you'll be ready to read faster and more effectively. Below are several techniques to help you increase your reading speed. With regular practice, your reading pace can improve dramatically. Read in chunks. Instead of reading word by word, train yourself to read in groups of words or short phrases. Set time limits. Give yourself a specific amount of time to read a piece of text. If necessary, create a bit of pressure to stay focused. This means setting goals to reduce both the time you spend on each phrase and the time you spend rereading earlier sections. Look for keywords. Many words in a passage are fillers, such as many, a, will, or is. Get into the habit of searching for the most important words or key phrases in a paragraph. These are usually nouns, adjectives, and verbs. Pay attention to the beginning. Focus especially on the first sentence of each paragraph. In well-written texts, the rest of the sentences usually elaborate on, discuss, or support the idea introduced in the first sentence. This means that if you want to summarize a text efficiently, you should carefully read the opening lines of each paragraph. Focus on main sections. Read all the summaries and conclusions included in the text. Use structural cues like headings and subheadings to locate where the key information of each section lies. Notice signal words. Look out for phrases such as in addition or moreover, which usually emphasize points already mentioned. Also, watch for words like although or instead, which introduce contrasting or opposing viewpoints. Words such as therefore and thus often lead to a conclusion or result. A moment to reflect. Choose a long and challenging article, something you normally wouldn't want to read. This time, decide that you will only read the first line of each paragraph. When you finish, pause for a moment and think about what you've just read. Write down any questions or thoughts that come to mind. Read in phrases. Focus on the key words. Absorbing. Key information. One of the purposes of reading is to absorb information from a text so that you can explain it to others. Once again, here are some useful tips to help you retain information more effectively. Prepare. Before reading, write down the questions that come to your mind and that you want answered after reading. Then, as you read, focus particularly on finding information that answers those questions. Read critically. As you read, evaluate both the main message and the details. Note down the passages you strongly agree or disagree with and reflect on them separately. I once tried this method. At first, I disagreed with the author, but after reconsidering, I found the author's reasoning completely convincing. Rephrase the main ideas. Use your own words to restate the author's key points. The more of your own language you can use, the better. When you get deeply involved in this process, you are truly internalizing the information from the text. Skip minor details, summarize specific examples into general ideas. Remember to use headings, use your creative mind. Draw a diagram of the text's main ideas, see also section 1.6. Underline or highlight. Use a pen or highlighter to mark key and important phrases in your own book, not a library book, or in a photocopied or printed version from a website. Retell the text to someone. Do this in person, not by email, and ask your colleague or friend to constantly question you with, "What do you mean?" You will have completed your task only when the other person fully understands the message you want to convey. Express ideas concisely and clearly. The simpler your explanation, the better. Review your understanding. After finishing a section, pause for a moment to review. Have you identified the key points? Explaining content simply to others is one of the most effective ways to absorb information. Case study. A few years ago, Rob was asked to give an important presentation to his colleagues in the Human Resources Department. He felt quite nervous at first, but after reading through all the key documents about changes in labor law, he began to write down and summarize the various reasons and main points. Gradually, he developed his own viewpoint. Working with everyone's materials not only helped him recognize other people's perspectives, but also strengthened his own thinking and opinions. 2.4 Learning the SQ3R reading technique there is a popular method that helps you absorb information effectively, called SQ3R: Survey, Question, Read, Recite, and Review. This section brings together many of the reading strategies discussed earlier. The SQ3R method consists of the following steps. Survey. Before reading, survey the material. Pay attention to the titles of chapters, sections, and subsections. Read the summaries at the beginning or end of each chapter, if available. Read the introduction and conclusion of each paragraph to grasp the main ideas and overall structure of the text. Question. As you read, ask questions. What is this section about? What does this title mean? From the title of the piece, try to formulate related questions. Read. At this stage, you clearly need to read the entire text. Be sure to stay fully focused. Start answering the questions you have posed. Don't try to read too much at once. Pause at logical points to make sure you've understood what you've just read. Recite. After reading carefully, visualize what you have just read to check how much of the main content you can recall. Doing this helps you identify areas where your memory is weak and where you may need to reread certain sections. You can read aloud or write down the key points. Writing down what you've read helps you summarize the content in your own words. Try to match your reading style to your learning style. See section 1.4. The more senses you use, for example, hearing and speaking, the better you will remember what you've read. Talk to yourself about what you have just read. Review. Now take a short break, then quickly reread the material to review what you have learned. If you have notes, read through them or even cover them and test yourself to see whether you can recall the most important points. Reread any sections you find necessary to help refresh your understanding of the main ideas. Skim through the entire text again to see whether you can still remember the key points. Case study. Andrea never liked reading books, but she found the SQ3R method very effective, especially the recite and review steps. She wrote notes, read aloud, and tried to explain what she had read to her younger brother. She also reviewed the material after 1 day, 3 days, and a week to strengthen her memory. ChatGPT Junoi 2.5 Understanding the meaning of numbers. Understanding words can be relatively easy, but when it comes to reading charts or diagrams, interpreting the meaning of numbers can be much more challenging. So, how can you make sense of them? Below are some tips to help you better understand numerical data and identify trends. Identify the content and scope of the data you have. Take time to explore the data and familiarize yourself with it. What type of chart or diagram is it? What information is it conveying? Read the titles and captions. Make sure you understand what they refer to, for example, budget, actual, or target. Check the units used. Do you understand the units shown in the chart or diagram, for instance, percentages or number of people? And check the source of the information. Find out who provided the data and when. Is the information up to date? Consider whether the format is appropriate. Choose one figure or chart and look at it in the context of its title to see whether it makes sense. Differentiate between types of information. Charts and graphs are used to compare data, so distinguish between the different lines in a chart and the various elements in a graph. And make use of your own knowledge. This is especially helpful if you're familiar with the topic being analyzed. Examine each column and note the highest and lowest numbers.
Are these figures what you expected?
Do the same with the data in the rows. Being excited by statistics is a sign of a truly intelligent person. George Bernard Shaw, English playwright, get familiar with the numbers, their scope, and their context. What do they mean to you? Case study. Ed and his colleagues were attending a presentation on market research for a new product aimed at women in North America. Because he asked many questions to Marcus, the presenter, he discovered that the research sample actually came from 10 men in California. That day, he learned an important lesson. Always check the source of the data used in a presentation. 2.6 Interpreting data on charts and graphs. When looking at statistical data, you need to evaluate it and place it in the right context. Only then can you determine the meaning of a clear trend, explain anomalies that differ from general patterns, and assess their relative significance. Below are some tips to help you interpret the meaning of numbers with an emphasis on recognizing patterns and trends. Compare the columns. Observe whether the trend is rising, falling, or staying the same. Are there any anomalies? Try to distinguish the patterns. Do the same for the rows. Record averages and variations. Find the average for the horizontal or vertical rows, then determine the degree of variation from that average. Analyze the causes behind major changes from the average. However, keep in mind that comparing a single figure to an average can be misleading. It might not apply to changes caused by seasonal factors, such as quarterly payments, if the chart is divided into 2-month periods. In such cases, comparing specific figures with a projected value may be more effective. Pay attention to the chart's focus. Check the scale on the left and right sides of the vertical axis to see if they differ. If the scale on the left doesn't start at 0, note that the chart creator may be emphasizing a particular aspect of the data used. Be cautious of extrapolation. If additional information in the chart is based solely on extrapolation from existing data, use it carefully. Such information is speculative in nature. Analyze the data. Are anomalies in the general pattern only temporary signals, or do they suggest a long-term trend? Do you know their causes? What is the likelihood of their continuation? And what do they signify? Draw meaningful conclusions. Write down your conclusions and check whether they are supported by the accompanying text intended to summarize the chart or diagram. A moment of reflection. Check the scale of the chart. Remember that the scale can distort the data and be used to manipulate the real meaning of the figures. Consider whether anomalies in the general pattern are temporary signals or indicators of long-term trends in the future. ChatGPT Janoi 2.7. Listening more attentively. In the age of short mobile phone calls, text messages, and emails, our lives are filled with fast forms of communication coming from all directions. We need to learn to slow down in order to listen to people more effectively. Listening is the key to absorbing information into our minds. Below are 7 elements to help you listen intelligently. Focus on the person in front of you and look directly at them. In conversations, while the other person is speaking, we often think about what we're going to say next, instead of fully listening to what they're saying. Paying close attention helps strengthen relationships. Listen to every word the other person says, but do more than that. Pay attention to their tone of voice and facial expressions, notice their emotions, observe when and how they pause, and be aware of what they are not saying. See each person as a unique individual. Recognize their need and right to express their personal identity. Understand others. I believe we can only do this effectively when we have confidence in ourselves instead of constantly worrying about what others think of us. Respect people's privacy. Do not pry into personal matters if they do not wish to continue discussing them. Listen for signals that the other person wants to share more and respond accordingly. You can use short phrases that show your interest in hearing more or ask brief questions to encourage them to continue. A friend once told me, "Since my wife passed away, I've been very sad." I politely asked, "When did your wife pass away?" He then told me she had died 12 years ago and went on to share many stories about her. I recognized his desire to talk, and I welcomed his need to share. Reflect a little. More precisely, summarize what the other person has said. This shows that you truly listened and tried to understand them. They will help you if you have misunderstood something. Truly listening means recognizing each person's unique need for self-expression. Effective listening will help you strengthen your relationships with others. 2.8. Evaluating what you hear. Don't just listen to words literally. Engage your mind. Use your knowledge to understand what you're hearing and form opinions about it. If you want to evaluate the information you hear, you must distinguish between facts and opinions. Detect the speaker's biases. Clearly, separate subjectivity from objectivity. Differentiate between the speaker's attitude and the topic being discussed. Draw conclusions about the speaker's arguments. Think about the meaning behind what they say. What does it imply? Recognize the difference between what they say and how they express it. Situation. One as a consultant, Jo quickly realized that she needed to build good working relationships with her clients and earn their trust. She also understood that she needed effective listening skills. Companies paid her a lot of money for her consulting services. Therefore, at the end of a meeting, she was very pleased when one of the company's colleagues said, "Jo, we really appreciate your caring attitude. You are very focused and always open to what we have to say. You listen to us patiently. You ask great questions to truly understand how our organization operates. Thank you so much." Situation. 2. Harry is a good listener. He is currently a member of the board of directors and works closely with Sarah, the managing director. During a meeting, Sarah talked about promoting a colleague named Jo, who worked in another department. Harry quickly noticed that the content of Sarah's words did not match her expression. Her tone and pace revealed surprise and reluctance about Jo's promotion. Those elements exposed her doubts about the decision to promote him. The ear of the leader must ring with the voices of the people. Woodrow Wilson, U.S. President, 1913 to 1921. Reflect on the meaning and significance of what others say. What does it imply? Asking questions to the speaker. While listening, our minds often generate questions. some related and some unrelated to what the speaker is saying. You can ask questions in at least 4 situations. When you want more information, in these cases, ask open-ended questions, questions that cannot be answered with yes or no. This allows the speaker to think and provide a more thoughtful response. For example, you might ask, "Why do you think sales dropped in the first quarter?" Or, "How can we increase the employee retention rate?" When you don't understand something and want clarification, some useful questions could be, "Could you go back to those figures you mentioned earlier?" Or, "What do you mean when you say?" Or, "Did you mean that you could deliver these products by the end of the month?" When you understand what they're saying, but you want to continue the presentation, this can serve as a summary process, such as, "It's now 3:30 p.m. and we've reached the point where..." It can also help restate key points. "Let's review the points we've agreed on." Or it may serve a supportive purpose. "That's a good idea. Do you all agree with this proposal?" When you understand what they're saying and want to explore the topic further, for instance, when some of my friends were discussing local issues with their town authorities, the mayor knew they were not comfortable sharing personal problems openly. He said, "Tell me more. I know you haven't told me the whole story. I need the full picture before I can advise you on what to do." It is important to keep asking questions. Curiosity has its own reason for existence. Albert Einstein, "Don't hesitate to ask questions to grasp the core of the issue." Situation. Mark often meets Jay at the annual conference. They once worked together briefly, but he felt they had never truly talked. During one conference, they realized their conversation went deeper than before and moved past the usual barriers of their previous discussions. Because they asked open, non-defensive and thought-provoking questions, they were able to share genuine perspectives on the current state of their industry. As a result, they had a comfortable and engaging conversation, exchanging ideas about a potential project with a product that could be widely sold and successful in the market. 3. Strategic thinking. A very common situation. You attend a business meeting. You've been there for an hour, but the issue you want to discuss still hasn't progressed much. This chapter will discuss several approaches and tips to help you think more strategically in a business environment. Sometimes you need to step back and consider different ways to solve a problem, or think creatively and use analytical reasoning to enhance your thinking. 3.1 Rethinking. People often get so caught up in their work that they lose sight of what truly matters. This principle helps you focus on the bigger picture, your ultimate goals and action plans. Below are several practical and effective methods to help you think more strategically in a business environment. Clarify your purpose. Identify your priorities and overall objectives, including your core values and defining characteristics. Set clear goals. This way, everyone involved knows exactly what they need to do and how to do it. Break these goals down into smaller, manageable parts. Ask the right questions. Clarify the purpose of your work in your own words. Seek multiple solutions. Gather information, conduct new research, and review past experiences. At this stage, do not judge ideas. Examine assumptions and, if necessary, find ways to challenge them. Encourage innovation. Create an environment that promotes fresh thinking and new ways of working. This will help you attract and retain more customers than your competitors. Make sound decisions. Base your decisions on solid evidence, important, objective, and well-reasoned. Choose the wisest decision for the situation at hand. Use the best evaluation criteria. Determine the standards by which you will assess different options. Communicate your decisions. Once a decision is made, inform all relevant individuals. This step is not only about conveying information, but also about fostering a sense of shared participation. Regularly reassess your strategy. Monitor market trends, products, and customer behavior. Constantly ask yourself, why is this important? Why is this relevant? Why are we doing this? to ensure that the fundamental issues are being addressed. Don't hesitate to ask why. Why is this important? Or why are we doing this? Situation. A hotel owner didn't realize how much they were losing until Z, a consultant, came to work with the manager. Z asked a series of questions to determine the basic cost of a typical meal at the hotel, breakfast and dinner. The cashier and accountant took several weeks to compile the data because the hotel's financial system was so poor. Z then suggested reducing the number of staff and retaining only well-trained employees, tightening control over the cash handling and accounting processes, and shortening the menu to focus only on meals that brought in higher profits. 3.2 Using Bono's 6 Thinking Hats. Strategy psychologist Edward de Bono wrote a book titled 6 Thinking Hats, 1985, in which he encouraged people to think and make decisions from multiple perspectives. Bono's approach can be summarized in 6 key points, each corresponding to a different hat. The white hat. Focus only on facts and objective information. Think about the gaps in your knowledge and find ways to fill them. The red hat. Consider the issue from an emotional point of view. What will people feel about this issue? For example, will they be angry or fearful about a change? How will they instinctively react? The black hat. Look at the issue from a negative perspective. There is something wrong with the plan. Why might it not work? What are the disadvantages and risks involved? The yellow hat. View the issue positively. What are the strengths and good aspects of this plan?
Why will it succeed?
What advantages and benefits does it bring? As Edward de Bono said, this way of thinking gives rise to vision and dreams. The green hat. Look at the issue creatively, exploring different ways to generate fresh and innovative ideas. The blue hat. Approach the issue from a control and decision-making standpoint. This mode of thinking is essential for those leading meetings to help clarify problems and guide the process toward conclusions. By separating the subjective, emotional and objective aspects of an issue, you can understand it more completely. Situation. Emotions were beginning to dominate the annual meeting of a certain company. Financial results were poor, and shareholders believed the management team was incompetent. By applying the 6 Thinking Hats strategy, the chairman allowed everyone to express their views from different perspectives: factual, emotional, negative, positive, and creative, turning the meeting into a constructive and solution-oriented discussion. ChatGPT Janoi 3.3. Maintain an appreciative inquiry attitude. A common way to solve problems is to focus on finding the causes of failure and, at times, assigning blame to individuals. However, a more positive approach is known as appreciative inquiry. This method differs from the conventional problem-solving approach in that it focuses on evaluating the people and systems already in place, appreciation, and identifying new possibilities for the future, inquiry. There are 5 steps in the appreciative inquiry process. Task define. Clarify the topic, issue, or opportunity by framing it in the most positive way possible. Discover. Analyze the strengths of current practices and effective approaches. Encourage colleagues to share positive experiences from their work. Take note of the key points. Dream. Build feasible options by exploring and creatively imagining an ideal situation. One way to do this is through brainstorming. See section 4.1. 6 Design. Identify the practicality of the ideas generated by developing new strategies to create different systems and structures. Deliver. Act. Turn the designs and dreams into action, always keeping the established vision in focus. A pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. Winston Churchill, British wartime Prime Minister. This approach encourages building upon successful methods used in the past and creatively generating better ideas for the future. Example: as the CEO, Rob wanted to lead his team in a more positive direction. Therefore, he adopted the appreciative inquiry method. he first defined the need for change as clearly as possible. In the Discover step, he asked several department heads to share useful experiences they had gained over the past 10 years, insights that not everyone knew. During the Dream phase, he encouraged his colleagues and inspired them to explore new, practical solutions. Later, in the Design phase, some of those ideas were implemented in the company's new system. 3.4 Apply random thinking. An effective method for solving problems creatively when you're stuck is called random thinking. The key to this approach is to choose a noun that has absolutely no connection to the topic you are thinking about, and then evaluate how the meaning of that word might spark an interesting new association. This method works particularly well when you've run out of ideas or need a breakthrough in your thinking. Simply pick a word that's completely unrelated to the issue you're trying to solve and explore the connections it brings. Since words have multiple associations and functions, your mind might focus on one small detail of a concept or a broader link. It's best to choose a concrete noun. You can do this by writing a list of 60 words and selecting one at random. For example, if the time is 11:39, you can pick the word in position 39 on your list. You may also use a dictionary. Here's how I do it in practice. I pay attention to numbers divisible by 13, for instance, page 130, page 260, page 390, and select the 13th word, or the next one if it's a noun. The important thing is to go with the first form of the word that comes to mind, with as little interpretation afterward. This means that, as possible, a minute of reflection, try this exercise. Think of a problem that you often struggle with but haven't yet solved satisfactorily. Then, take a book from your shelf, open it to page 30, for example, and find the first noun on the top line. What does that word mean? Think for a moment and see how it might relate to your problem. Don't focus on finding a solution right away. Just see whether it sparks any ideas. Randomly, choose a specific noun and observe the connection between that word and the issue you are trying to resolve. Example: the problem Dave and his colleagues were facing was managing the time of middle managers. 3 words emerged when they used the random thinking method. The first was sieve, which made them realize that redundancy and overload were issues to be addressed. The second was lamp, which reminded them of creativity, insight, and enlightenment. The last was stick, related to the phrase the carrot and the stick, suggesting the need for motivation and reward when goals are achieved. By using this method, new ideas for further exploration emerged, helping the team think more effectively. 3.5 PEST Analysis. PEST is a method used to analyze changes in political, economic, social, and technological factors. This method helps you gain a comprehensive understanding of external elements that may affect your business activities, allowing you to identify the right direction for the market you want to enter, or to recognize how technological changes may influence your field of operation. By conducting a PEST analysis, you can identify the various external factors that impact your business, the environment in which your business exists. You can then use these factors as the foundation for drawing conclusions. This method is especially useful if you are operating in a new market. The PEST analysis identifies political changes, the deregulation of industries, changes in government, laws, policies, or regulations, for example, the imposition of tariffs, governmental instability or risks of conflict or war. Economic changes, the state of the economy, whether growing or in recession, market expansion, the impact of inflation and interest rate fluctuations, tax issues, and levels of post-tax income. Social changes, changes in population and demographic trends, such as birth, death, and marriage rates, social mobility, changes in working patterns, and lifestyle shifts, for example, an increase in the number of people buying ready-made meals. Technological changes, the latest innovations, the influence of the internet, the growing number of people working from home, and cost reductions brought about by technological advancements. Once you have completed a PEST analysis, you will understand whether entering a new market is likely to be beneficial. Example: before considering entry into a new market for mobile products, Gary's team conducted a pest analysis. Politically, the telecommunications industry had recently opened up, allowing more companies to operate than before. Economically, the market was growing, and young customers had higher post-tax incomes. Socially, more people were living and working away from home, increasing their need to stay connected with family and friends. Technologically, a new generation of mobile phones was about to be launched. Having completed the pest analysis, Gary's team concluded that the market potential was relatively high and decided to invest in further development. SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis helps you evaluate your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. By carrying out this analysis, you will have the opportunity to assess the current state of your business operations. Identify strengths. What do you do better than your competitors? What do your competitors see as your greatest strength? Which characteristics play an important role in attracting and retaining customers? What is your current financial situation? What is your unique selling point, USP? And identify weaknesses. In which areas are you weak and need improvement? What do your competitors consider your weaknesses? What financial disadvantages are you facing? Are you well known in your business sector? Are your machinery and computer systems up to date? Seek opportunities. What are the current market trends? Are there any lifestyle changes, new product developments, or expanded partnerships? Can you acquire a recently bankrupt competitor? Are there new market segments you could pursue? Recognize threats. What difficulties and challenges have you faced recently? Are your competitors handling them better than you? How do changes in information technology, law, market demand, and the economy affect your business operations? Try to answer the above questions clearly and precisely. You should provide specific details rather than general statements, such as good value for money. Review all your lists carefully and prioritize the most important points first. Pause for a moment and examine the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in your business operations. Example: when taking over a local office supplies company, Bill completed a SWOT analysis with his financial consultant. The company's strengths were a solid financial foundation and a good reputation. Its weaknesses included underskilled staff, excessive stock levels, and a poorly located warehouse. The opportunity lay in improving order fulfillment speed once a faster broadband system was installed. However, the threat was increasing competition as more rivals entered the market. By carrying out the SWOT analysis, Bill gathered valuable information, which he used as the basis for developing his business growth strategy. But harvesting ideas. After considering many ideas and choosing one to pursue, there are often several other ideas that get left behind. The idea harvesting method is useful because it applies and makes use of the discarded ideas and approaches, helping you continue developing other lines of thought. Psychologist Edward de Bono developed the technique of idea harvesting as a creative thinking approach. You can apply this process to creative thinking by identifying the following points. Useful ideas. Not only the ideas that everyone praises, but also other ideas that can still be used. Feasible ideas. These may sound unrealistic, hard to implement, or overly ambitious. Ideas still in their infancy. These are potential ideas that require further exploration and thought to transform that potential into reality. Basic concepts and core values. These include both the concepts and values that have become clear after discussion, and those that are still implicit and need to be clarified through the open approaches being used. You should also harvest ideas during discussions by noting methods for turning concepts into reality, new key areas that need to be closely monitored, shifts from one way of thinking to another. The general impression of the meeting where you presented the ideas. Do not dismiss any idea. Instead, use feasible ones to express your own value and identity and work to turn them into reality. Example: the staff of a social club felt stuck regarding the club's direction. During a regular meeting, the committee discussed new evening activities. They eventually decided on bowling, but during the discussion, several other suggestions were raised and taken into consideration rather than being rejected outright. A weekend trip was one new idea that 2 members wanted to organize. The discussion helped the club refocus on its core values and identity, particularly the need to help new members integrate better. The positive meeting also emphasized that a change in mindset was necessary to create opportunities for members to share fresh ideas. By applying the idea harvesting technique, the committee members adopted a positive attitude towards several, rather than just one, ideas that could be implemented in the future.